Theresa May, when did you realise that you'd got the wrong answer to the biggest question of our times in politics?
Well, I'm tempted to ask you, Jeremy, what you think. Do you mean you're talking about Brexit?
Well, of course.
Right. Well, there are lots of challenges in our politics at the moment. There are lots of challenges that the government face.
I'm just curious, what was it convinced you that Brexit was so bad for Britain?
I set out my reasons for deciding that we should, on balance, stay within the European Union. I voted to remain, I campaigned to remain.
And when did you change your mind?
The British people were given the choice, and the British people decided that they wanted the United Kingdom to leave the European Union.
So you're now stuck with trying to deliver something you believe is bad for this country?
I'm delivering what I believe the British people want their government to deliver. And I think it's very important. I think it's not just an issue about Brexit itself. It's actually an issue, to me, about trust in politicians.
Hang on a second. You said in March last year that we would be more secure, more prosperous and more influential, virtually in those words, if we stayed in the European Union. And now you want to take us out of it.
And I also said that the sky wouldn't fall in if we left the European Union.
So you have changed your mind, have you?
We gave people the choice.
You've changed your mind?
I'll answer that in a minute. We gave people the choice, Jeremy, and the British people decided to leave the European Union. Yeah. And I think it's important for them to see their politicians delivering on that choice and respecting the will of the people. And what I think's...
Sure, OK. So you've changed your mind?
What I am now doing is...
Have you changed your mind?
I think there are huge opportunities for Brexit.
Have you changed your mind?
Jeremy, I know that you have used this tactic and you want...
I'm just trying to get an answer.
Yes,
that's all. You can say yes or no. I haven't changed my mind. Yes, I have changed my mind. Say what you like.
I take the view that we can make a success of Brexit. I take the view that the British people want us to make that success.
But you don't believe in it?
Of course, Jeremy, as Prime Minister, I've been out there already ensuring that the negotiations are going to start, and I want to ensure that there's a strong hand in those negotiations. I believe in making a success of Brexit for the whole of the United Kingdom.
But you don't really believe in it, do you?
I believe in making a success of Brexit.
Let me look at it another way. How was it that people like Boris Johnson, Michael Gove, David Davis, Priti Patel, even Andrea Leadsom, they all got it right and you got it wrong?
I voted... Well, there's no gainsaying the fact that I campaigned to remain and voted to remain.
Sure.
But I also
think it's a duff idea.
I said it was a balanced... Sorry.
You still think it's a duff idea, don't you?
No, I think that...
You haven't changed your mind.
Look, the referendum drew a line under those debates. What the referendum did was took the view of the British people. Now, I think it's right that we do that now. And I genuinely think that if we get Brexit right, and this is really important for us, if we get Brexit right, we can make a real success of the opportunities that open up for us. But we can only do that if we grasp those opportunities.
But you still think it's a bad idea?
No, I believe we're doing the right thing in making a success of Brexit.
Well, of course you want to make a success of it. Can we look at something else that you've changed your mind on, or perhaps not changed your mind on? Social care. Now, you had a manifesto commitment which said there would be a cap on the cost of social care. Then your latest manifesto dropped that. And for clarification, the Health Secretary said there will be no cap. And 4 days later, you said there will be a cap.
We had what Jeremy Hunt was talking about and what we referred to in our manifesto was the specific proposal. This proposal was put forward by Andrew Dilnot a few years ago when he was asked by government to look at the social care issue. And if I just explain why we rejected that Dilnot proposal, Jeremy, it was because, for two reasons. First of all, because it was going to be paid for out of general taxation. And secondly, because that Dilnot proposal protected wealthier pensioners, but did nothing to protect pensioners on modest incomes. Now, the proposals I've put forward actually do that. They do help pensioners on modest incomes. And crucially, they ensure we have a long-term, sustainable solution for social care.
OK, you have said earlier that it's very important that people can trust their politicians and their governments. Can I ask you, explicitly, unambiguously, what will the cap be?
Well, as I've just answered, I'm not going to give you a different answer from the one I've given Faisal. No, it's not about not knowing, Jeremy. It's about thinking what... It's about
you don't know, do you?
It's about thinking what the right approach is to get to that figure.
But you don't know.
What we want to do is to ask, is to consult, is to listen, and then to determine what that cut will be.
Have you even thought what the cost of the taxpayer will be?
I think that's only fair to people, that we actually go through that consultation and say to people and take people's views as we determine that cap.
Just at a philosophical level, you said you went into politics to help the just about managing. How is enabling rich people to pass on wealth to the next generation helping the just about managing?
What is helping is ensuring that we don't have a long-term solution for our social...
No, my question was how it helped the just about managing.
And I'm answering your question,
You're not.
Jeremy. You have asked me about the just about managing and how they're being helped. And what I'm going to point out is that if you have a social care system which relies on taxing those just about managing at higher levels, that's not helping them. What we're doing is putting forward a proposal which means that people don't have to sell their house in their lifetime to pay for care. It means they can pass on savings to their children, and it means there will be that cap. But it's fair across the generations. And there are older people today who worry that their children and grandchildren won't have a better future.
Can we look at something else on which you've changed your mind? Only this March in the budget, you proposed to increase national insurance contributions from the self-employed. Within a week, you backed down from that. You accept that?
Yes, I accept that. And we very clearly stated at the time...
You see, what one's bound to say is, if I was sitting in Brussels and I was looking at you as the person I had to negotiate with, I'd think, she's a blowhard who collapses at the first sign of gunfire. Isn't that right?
I think, Jeremy, you'll find that what the people in Brussels look at is the record that I had of negotiating with them in Brussels and delivering for this country on a number of issues on justice and home affairs, which people said we were never going to get.
All right.
And I got those negotiations.
Can you remind us how many times you told us after you became Prime Minister that there would not be a general election until 2020? You did, didn't you? I mean, I got to a grand total of 6 times on which you or your spokesman said there wouldn't be one.
And I said there wouldn't be a general election. And after I became Prime Minister, I felt that the most important thing for the country was the stability and getting on with triggering the Article 50 so that we made sure that we were delivering on that vote on Brexit. What became clear when we were going through that process is that other parties want to frustrate that process of those Brexit negotiations. We have the Liberal Democrats wanting a second referendum.
That's all happened since March, has it?
We have the... Well, actually, it was March. It was in March that I triggered Article 50 by writing the letter to the
It was in March
European
you
Council.
told us we didn't need to have a general election because it would destabilise the country until 2020.
And what became clear as we were looking through those negotiations, as they started those negotiations started the process of triggering them, what became clear, increasingly clear, as is clear in this election campaign, is the desire of other parties to frustrate the will of the British people. That's why I thought it was right to go out for an election.
Prime Minister, are you somebody who takes responsibility for their mistakes?
I take responsibility for the decisions I make, Jeremy.
Right. So you have been how many years in government now?
In government?
Yes.
I've been in government since 2010, so 7 years in government.
7 years in government, and you'll recall the manifesto promises on immigration.
Indeed I do.
That you'd bring it, you repeated them, in fact, in this manifesto.
Yes.
Said the same thing again because you failed. In your capacity, 6 of those 7 years, you were Home Secretary, weren't you?
I was indeed.
Yeah. Immigration was your main task. to get it down to what you promised in the manifesto, which was 100,000 or less non-EU immigrants per year net. You didn't do that, did you?
Net migration, no, we didn't achieve that. We did, what happened...
Can you just tell us what it is now?
Yes, it was 248,000 in the last set of figures. What we saw was the figures
migrants?
coming... Sorry?
Non-EU migrants?
Was about 175,000.
It's 175,000 according to the latest figures, yes.
What we saw in immigration figures was it started to come down, then they did go up, and now they're starting to come down again. What we will have when we leave the EU...
That was your job.
Is the... Yes. Jeremy, I'm not sitting here saying it wasn't. I'm accepting that what we had to do was to ensure that we were rooting out abuse in the system. But there is no single moment where you take one measure which changes the immigration figures. It is a constant work to ensure that you're dealing with immigration and ensuring there is no more abuse in the system. There's more work to be done. We will, of course, have another tool to do this when we leave the European Union, because we'll be able to introduce rules for people coming from within the European Union. But this will be a constant work.
Who won't be able to come to this country under your new rules?
Well, we're working at the moment on what those new rules should be in terms of...
So you still don't have any idea?
But no, it's not about... We have a set of rules for people from outside the European Union. We will look at the requirements for... One of the things we do is ensure that it's possible for people to be brought in where there are skill shortages, where there is a need for people to come to work.
And what's the damage going to be to the economy? Have you worked that out?
I think one of the crucial things we need to do in this country is ensure that actually we are enabling people here in the UK to be skilled up to do jobs. I think sometimes what we've seen is people being brought in from overseas because we haven't done sufficient in this country. That's why I think
your friend George Osborne, or your friend until you sacked him, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, George Osborne, says this policy is economically illiterate.
It's a policy which will actually...
Well, he should know, shouldn't he?
It's a policy which ensures that we are recognising the concerns that people in this country have about uncontrolled immigration. Controlling immigration is important.
Right.
It's important for a number of reasons, but one of the reasons it's important is because uncontrolled migration has an impact on wages at the lower end of the income scale.
Yeah.
People feel an impact from that. That's why I think it's so important that we keep working at this and we keep...
And you say it's much easier. It'll be much easier once we've left the European Union, won't it?
We will be able to introduce rules for people coming from within the European Union once we've left. That's been a piece of the work on immigration.
How much of our money are you prepared to give Brussels in order to get a deal?
I don't think it's going to be about paying over money to get a deal. What I think is important is that...
You're not prepared to pay anything. I mean, David said he'd walk away at 100,000. 100 billion, sorry.
We've made clear, I've put it in the manifesto, that we will look for a fair...
100 billion to leave the European Union?
That we will put a fair settlement, look for a fair settlement of our rights and obligations. There are a number of figures that are being quoted and being around, a number of them coming from...
Have you got any figure in your head?
Union, a number coming from the European Union itself. We will look at our rights and obligations.
Have you got a figure in your head as to how much it's worth paying to get out of this club?
It isn't a question of what it's worth paying to get out. It's a question of what is going to be the right deal for us to leaving the European Union, which will stop us from paying huge sums of money into the EU every single year, which will enable that we have control of our money and our borders and our laws.
But you wouldn't walk out, as David Davis says he would, if there was a request for 100 billion. You wouldn't walk out there.
We will be there to negotiate the right deal, but what I have said is no deal is better than a bad deal. We have to be prepared to walk out.
So you are prepared to walk away from the European Union with no deal?
No deal is better than a bad deal. And let me just tell you...
That wasn't exactly my question.
Yes,
my question was, are you prepared to walk away...
By definition, if I'm prepared to say that no deal is better than a bad deal, I want to get a good deal from the European Union. What I don't want is the sort of bad deal that some people are talking about. If you think about it, some people in Europe are talking about punishing us, and that would be a bad deal for us. Some people here in the UK talk as if they're willing to do anything to sign up to a deal with the European Union, and that would be a bad deal for us as well.
So
we need to negotiate and negotiate hard.
to leave the European Union with no deal?
As I say, no deal would be better than a bad deal.
You are prepared to leave the European Union with no deal?
I think you can take it, Jeremy. No deal would be better than a bad deal.
Yes, you said that repeatedly.
Yes. I'm not prepared to sign up to a bad deal for the UK. Now, I believe.
So you are
I'm
prepared
optimistic.
to walk away?
I think you have to. In negotiations, you have to recognise that you're prepared, that you're not in there to get a deal at any price. We're in there to get the best deal for the United Kingdom. And actually, I'm optimistic about that, because I think that there's, in the European Union, they will want to continue their relationship with us as well.
You can be as optimistic as you like, but you might have to walk away from it.
What I will be doing is, as we heard in the earlier session, what I'll be doing is being a difficult woman and ensuring that we're negotiating hard. But
Theresa May, thank you very much. Thank you.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.